And I think what we really need to talk about is what is happening around the globe. Through accidents or incidents and conflicts, people end up losing limbs and their arms or their feet. And imagine just being 8 years old and losing an arm or your leg and not being able to ride a bike again, not being able to hug your parent again. But this is all changing. Joining us in the studio is the man behind the life-changing mission. He is the CEO of Bionic Arms. It is a Pakistani startup that is turning into a sci-fi reality, giving amputees hope, giving them mobility, giving them freedom, and giving them access to movement within the marrow of their bones. They're going to feel alive again. We are very glad to be joined by Niaz. Thank you, Ans. How are you feeling today?
Thank you
Hello,
so much
Anas.
for
Assalamu
having
alaikum.
me. And
Can you hear us?
yes, yes, I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Exactly, Anas. Thank you so much. You happen to be the chief executive or owner of the Bionics. I think it's great. I did hear or read about the story of that 8-year-old girl whom you have actually sent 45,000 kilometers away, a bionic arm, and she actually jumped onto her bicycle to ride it in Gaza. How do you feel about it, first of all?
I think the feeling is amazing because we have been doing this for a long time in Pakistan, and now we want to expand globally and help people around the world. And this was our first case internationally, and we are really glad that the technology that was built in Pakistan is now helping people around the world, and especially in Gaza.
Right. And please tell us about how this journey started, why prosthetic arms, and how do you feel about giving back to not just the Pakistani community, but the international community?
So this journey started from a 5-year-old boy family. They reached out to me in 2016 when I was doing robotics in from Karachi, Pakistan, and they sent me a spam email. It was in the email. It was written that since you are doing robotics, can you make a prosthetic arm for our little boy? So I opened that email. I met the family and I asked the 5-year-old boy. His name was Mirban Baloch, that what kind of arm do you want? And he said, I need an Iron Man hand. So I built one Iron Man hand for him in 2016. And then I realized that the challenge with the amputees is a lot. And there are so many people around the world do not have access to the prosthetic. And when it comes to the functional and the bionic prosthetics, so it's very expensive. So I started a company and able to produce these limbs locally, and now we have more than 1,000 users in Pakistan, and now it's the story that started from one boy is now helping a lot of people around the world.
Alhamdulillah, and obviously it was heart touching, because I came across this story about you and your company on routers, and for the story of Sidra to kind of get that prosthetic arm and jump onto bicycle was something that you're actually giving people their life back and how they would want to live, and especially in a conflict zone. But in addition to this, what you've done is that you could remotely actually, you really do
Take
not have to go there
consultations.
physically, see Sidra. You have developed an application which remotely tells you about the size and how the fittings are going to be. So please tell us about the technology behind it.
So the challenge initially was with the prosthetic industry was that there were only very few clinics around the world that can install bionic limbs, and they were super expensive, and you cannot imagine to install it in the conflict zone because it takes too much time. So what we did was we wanted to create a process that can make this prosthetic accessible for everyone. So that's why we introduced our digital measurement technique through which anybody from any part of the world can just use a mobile device, take the measurements and email us, and we can manufacture the whole arm that fits perfectly. And once you receive the arm, you can calibrate it as well. So you don't have to go to the clinics. You don't have to find the technical guy who can help you out in installation. So the Sidra installation was done within 15 minutes, and people in Jordan was surprised to know that how this technology can revolutionize the whole industry, especially in the conflict zone where people do not have access to such clinics. And even in the world, if I talk about that, 80% with people with disability who does not have limbs, they do not have access to the prosthetic. And this was the major reason that we have solved, and hopefully now we are able to serve the whole world.
And Anas, in addition to this, I think one of the other challenges which the world actually faces is that that it's really challenging to bear the cost of such prosthetics and bionic arms. Now, before we actually indulge into the kind of technology which is being used, whether there are sensors or whatnot, please let us know how you found out a way or figured out a way to make sure that it's going to be cost effective as well.
So because initially we were building something for Pakistani people, and we wanted to make sure the cost is affordable and everybody can get something which is very essential for them. So we introduced different techniques, and the manufacturing process was like, our manufacturing process is completely digitalized, so we don't require a lot of human interventions. So that's why we can produce mass quantity prosthetics in a very, just few people, and they can do it quickly. So that was the major reason why we were able to reduce the cost. And other than that, the software behind it is, everything is in Alhamdulillah, made in Pakistan. So it helps us not just improvise the technology locally, but also reducing the cost for the global market as well. So right now, we are the only one who has the capability to produce prosthetics in the mass quantity and serve the whole need in the world.
Wow, I think it's beautiful and it's wonderful to know that such budding gentlemen are out there making sure that they're not just coming up with brilliant ideas or producing or making sure that that they give people new hopes and new lives as well, but rather are making sure that the product is cost effective. Now let's jump onto the physical side of it and how the prosthetics are going to work. Now imagine that we have seen that some of the prosthetic arms which are out there are very up to date and very digital as well, where they could actually sense whether the guy wants to open the hand or close the hand, or want to move their elbow or probably close it, all of that. Do you think that that's the kind of journey that you're taking on as well, and making sure that that such latest technologies are being introduced?
So we already have done it, and the way we have done it is better than the rest of the world, because even in 2017 we were giving prosthetic arms for younger people, like 3.5-year-old kids as well. And in 2021, I googled what's the youngest age to get a bionic arm, and in the globally the youngest age is 8 years. So you will be surprised if you Google the youngest bionic kid in the world, you will find our reference, and you will find a lot of news around it that the Pakistani company was able to give a 3.5-year-old boy from Charsadda a bionic arm. So we are already utilizing the best technology, and people are able to use it. And the other best part about our technology is the sensors that we have produced locally are sweat-proof and waterproof. So people who are using technology from the Western countries, their sensors are malfunctions when you are sweating. So this is also something unique about our technology. Other than that, we don't require any surgical intervention, and most of the time in other companies they require surgical intervention if the amputation is severe. So these all things are actually adding up in our technology and helping people to use their prosthetics in their daily life, rather than just doing using it in a very controlled environment.
I think
Definitely.
one of the best parts over here is that all of this is indigenous. So imagine that you really do not have to rely on some foreign partners to kind of bring in sensors from somewhere, source it from somewhere else or different parts of the world. I think it's beautiful to know. And as while looking at you over here when we are having this conversation, I don't think that you're beyond 30 or 32 years old. And for such budding amazing youngsters to do such amazing things, that too in Pakistan, for the people of the rest of the world, where they could actually have their lives back the way that they were living. I think it's phenomenal. Yaar, Allah aapko kabhi nazar na lagaye aur aapko aur tarakki de, ameen summa ameen. But while we are talking about all of this and these senses and whatnot, how do you see the future? Because imagine that I follow this page with the name of Equestrian, and what they do is that it is a hospital based somewhere in Germany, and that too they treat animals, and what they do is that they actually give such prosthetics to animals too. Do you think that in days to come that we will be able to reach a point where we suffice the needs of humans and then move on to look after all of those animals who are struggling without a leg probably, or anything that they need?
Yeah, yeah, sure, definitely. Because even you might have seen the recent case of the camel that was given a prosthetic,
Yep.
right?
Yes.
So we were able to help them out in designing and development of the prosthetics, and then because we had a limited exposure onto the prosthetics for the animals, so we also connected them with the international organization who build the prosthetics for
Yeah, the
animals,
UAE
and
authorities,
just
yes.
because the way way we took the measurements, so they were able to produce something and able to ship. So this is already what we are doing, and the new thing that we are building right now is we are building containers lab. The container lab is AI limb factories that can produce 500 to 700 limbs in a month, and we are going to place those containers in different part of the world so that it can cover the whole need. And then you can also produce animal prosthetics with the same factory, so you don't have to build huge factories in the world to mass produce prosthetics.
I think it's wonderful. Thank you so much for being with us, Anas, and it's lovely to be in conversation with such an amazing gentleman who's actually doing so much for not just his fellow countrymen, but for the people of the rest of the world. And that's how people really need to think about things.
And helping bring smiles on little children's faces with, you know, fun themed arms, Iron Man arms, Elsa arms.
Imagine.
And imagine finding purpose in bringing smiles and confidence to young people. That's very, very fascinating and applaudable.